Oh, this will be fun. This is going to be so much fun. So, so anyway, the Titans won yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm just trying to think of some. Yeah, and they shouldn't have, but they beat Patrick Mahomes. Now the kid comes out and does his thing, so you can't say they weren't loaded. They had what they needed. The Falcons, Freudian slip. I was from Georgia. Anyway, the Titans played well. It was a couple of points game, but it was a good game, and I'm happy for them. But other than that, I hate them. Let's see what else. I guess down deep in my heart, I feel like we need to pull for Tennessee. But LSU now is top. Alabama's in top 4. I don't know what that means, but Alabama.
Do they deserve it? Do they deserve it?
They just need to switch places. And Ohio State comes in 3rd. There's no doubt about it. And then you got to put Clemson in there. They're not sexy this year. We know that. But they're still kicking butt and taking names. And they're the champs from last year, so don't diss them. They have as much right to be there as the other 3 that I just named. Now, am I right or not?
True.
I think I'm right on that. I mean, we think that there's a lot of changes. Georgia won. Yeah, their defense is awesome. I even heard them say on the TV that their defense is similar to Alabama's, except they think Georgia has a better defense than Alabama. Well, you can go with some of the points to be made here. One is no one's rushed in for a touchdown against Georgia this season.
That's an amazing team.
Yeah, that's right. Those guys can play for. But their offense is sputtering, and we knew it from the beginning. We lost our wide receivers last year. Terry Godwin, I can't remember the other guys, but they ran their routes so perfectly, and they caught that ball. So these guys are just missing. The balls are there just above the fingertips. I don't know. So anyway, I think that's going to be the Achilles heel. I'm surprised. We may not get by Auburn this year. They play next week.
Their Auburn's quarterback is getting better, it seems.
Bo Nix,
single week he's getting better and better.
He's getting better. I agree with that. And if you got game, you're going to get better. It comes with experience.
Yeah.
That's why you have to consider getting through the growing pangs. Mm-hmm. And those we hate seeing that. But even last night, Mason Rudolph in that game, as he plays quarterback for Big Ben with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he looked good. It took him a little while, but man, when he was in college, he could flat throw that ball. I mean, he was amazing. And so I thought, well, he's there now. I mean, my goodness, he's going to be able to carry the Steelers as well as Big Ben. Well, it's going to take time. He's got the tools, and you notice later in the game he got better and better. He became more confident in his in his self. And all you need to do is make a couple of good plays, keep the chains moving. Then they love you. They love you. That's what it's about. It doesn't take much. All right, so we'll get back. So what does anybody think out there about this Joe Burrow? The quarterback for the LSU Tigers. I like this kid. I like him. I like what he said when he said, "You didn't." Now, I already knew about him. Now, I'm not going to give you a ton of credit on this. The only thing really that happened was the fact that there wasn't enough time in that game. Otherwise, Alabama would have eventually come back and won that game. I'm just telling you what I think would happen. It didn't happen. There's no reason to talk about it.
Dominated the whole game from the first whistle to the last whistle.
Was the first whistle when the quarterback fumbled the ball? Boy, can you imagine they were marching down? I said, typical. And then next thing you know, they got the ball going back the other way, and they go down and score. I think that's awesome. I'm not against LSU. I'm for LSU. That's true. Well, as a matter of fact, I was in church Sunday, and Debbie Turner, who is a friend of ours, the family, and she came in and got right in my face.
Got to run to the bathroom.
Got right in my face, folks, and she said, I heard you talking about LSU, that they didn't have a chance against Alabama and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I didn't mean it as dogmatically as it sounds. What I meant to say was because of Alabama's pedigree and that they have beaten LSU at the last 8 times they've played, wouldn't you think that they would, Orgeron, he's up, he's down. They won because they didn't listen to the hype. They divorced themselves from whatever was going on in the past, and they put that quarterback under center. His name was Joe Burrow, and he played outstandingly. He kept the chains moving. If he couldn't do it with his arm, he did it with his legs. He was able to move and keep it going, keep the ball away from Tua, because Tua looked darn good. I mean, look. Tua had 418 yards in the air, and the kid had almost 400 yards in the air. The quarterback, Joe, and so I mean, it was a good game. I mean, if you wanted the game of the century, you wanted offense, you did. Hey, the prognosticators were saying what? They were saying it's a defensive game. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to be. I didn't see it that way.
No, it wasn't that way at all.
No, they were moving that ball up and down. And when Rashad, what's his name, he started playing fabulously there at the end for the Crimson Tide. So I mean, it was a heck of a game, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching. But when I was telling Debbie from church, and I just said, listen, I didn't. It's not that I had anything against the Tigers, your Tigers. It was the fact that I was just going what I thought if you were doing odds, that would be the thing to choose them.
We got King of Pop and Fraser on.
All right, well, let's talk to him.
Here we go.
Thank you. This is first number 452-3094, and we welcome you to
7490.
Oh yeah, I don't do that. It's too many numbers. Anyway, thank you for calling Sportscall. You're on the air.
Hello, yes, sir. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How about you? You sound great.
Yeah, this is the King of Pop and Fraser.
Oh yes, of course. That's what the producer said, and he's usually right.
There's something going on with Anthony Penny Hardaway.
I know, and I want to
There's a lot being said about a young man that he had him and his mom to relocate from Nashville for about $8,000, $18,000.
No, it was 11,000 and change. Yeah, we're talking about James Wiseman.
Been saying that for months.
Yeah, look, I'm going to hang up and listen to the response.
Well, yeah, I'm going to come back to that. I hadn't got to because it's worthy of more conversation. We're just skimming what happened over the weekend.
What is your opinion on it, caller?
Yeah. That's all right. He hung up. That's all right. He hung up. And that's fine. He has a right. But, you can look at this in so many ways. That's why the judge is going to have to make an announcement on this himself. I think the kid can play. Mm-hmm. James Wiseman can play until they come down with something that's sort of an absolute.
So basically, now I've only heard bits and pieces of this, but I've been hearing whispers of this for months and months and months now.
Well, Gordon Ford, he's really tight into that industry, and he was telling me, and I said, no, man, you got a bent nose. I said, wait a minute, you got a bent nose, and you're upset because Ole Miss, and they're going to play, and you're an Ole Miss kind of. He said, no, Bill, I'm telling you the truth.
He said, well, yeah. And the thing is this was before football season ever started.
Yeah.
I mean, this was that long ago. And I've been into it.
But let me ask you a question, though. And I got to ask everybody. It's a question that's vicariously out to all you guys through my producer. But do you feel there was something wrong, even though he was a head coach at East High School, and he had an AAU team? And James Wiseman has been one of his prodigies during both of those things. And when he came to play, he had to move from Nashville there. He was the head coach. At the time, I think when he financed the move for he and his parents to move here, is that no other coach could do that. He did it out of his pocket because he's a millionaire. But my question is, what's wrong with that?
It's against NCAA rules.
Well, I know that, but I'm asking, forget about supporting them. I'm talking about you and your own gut reaction to this.
Well, I mean, when something like this happens, okay, you remember Bruce Pearl invited a kid to a barbecue.
I didn't remember that, but you know why? Because it's Tennessee, so enlighten us.
Well, see, okay, that's the thing. And then only a year later, or a couple of years later, that's not illegal anymore. So
I
who's
know
to
it.
say now when these kids be able to get paid or whatever it is using their likeness and stuff, this may not be
The
this
situation anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Well, you're right, but you're talking into the future, and I was talking about here's
Yeah, to the
another
present, yeah.
wrinkle that's turned in because he's a booster. Remember that he was a booster of Memphis, even though he was high school because he was a superstar, arguably one of the best players ever. After I think Larry Finch that ever played for the University of Memphis Tigers. So I'm thinking. They got to come up. There's something wrong with his picture, and they're going to find out. And if there isn't anything wrong, it depends on who the NCAA likes. That's just what I think. I don't know. I don't know for nothing. But I'm telling you, everybody wants to rain on everybody else's parade. And tell me it's not being done everywhere. They pick and choose. It's like when you're flying down the highway and you get pulled over. And you say, well, wait a minute, I was going as fast as the rest of the people. He said, yeah, but you were the fish that got caught. And that's exactly what it is. They pick and choose. Cherry pick, if you will. They don't like Ole Miss because they let MSU, that's Mississippi State University, give them grief for what, 4 or 5 years? How terrible is that? Well, that's terrible. Just penalize them, and that's it. That's why you got to tip your hat to Buddy Dykes and those guys down there with the Mustangs at SMU. I mean, they had a death program. I mean, it was like they threw the program away, but they came back. And then again, they win this weekend. It was a high-scoring game. I think they're running out of rabbits in the hat, but by the time the playoffs get here. But right now, you've got to give them their props. They've done a heck of a job. What most schools don't do. Go ahead.
We got Vincent on the line.
My buddy Vincent, I know he'll talk good for us. Vincent,
How you doing today?
hey, we're doing great. I got wet though.
I'm deciding to be the conspiracy theorist.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, I didn't think that was in you, but I'm anxious to hear.
This is the conspiracy theorist. This is the issue that's going on with Wiseman. What happened was they cleared the guy, acknowledged that they were wrong and cleared him, and decided that they were going to honor their word, their first word anyway. Well, come Tuesday night, Duke played Kansas, Kentucky played Michigan State, then Memphis played, and James Wiseman made his debut.
Big time.
Then they decided to say, whoa, this guy's better than we thought he was.
Yeah, he's going to upset our apple cart down the road.
We better put an end to this train before it gets started.
Yep, good point.
And then, on top of that, this goes back, this is conspiracy theory, this goes back to the game day. We had almost 50 to 75,000 people down on Beale Street, maybe more.
Yeah.
I don't know how many it was. We had a sold-out stadium without an SEC team.
Well said.
National TV beat a ranked team.
Uh-huh.
And there are some powers that be that don't want us to get to that upper tier level of athletics.
I know that's how it works.
And basically, I think that's what this is part of the equation.
Yeah, that is a CT, no doubt about it.
Because it doesn't make sense to me now, unless there's some facts that I don't know about, or maybe some new stuff that we hadn't heard.
Yeah.
It would seem fair to me that if you gave him approval to play, then acknowledge that you made a mistake in approving him, but you're going to honor your word.
Yeah.
To come back 3 or 4 months later and say, well, no, we ain't going to honor our word. He's ineligible.
Yeah.
And then when the school asked, well, how many games are we looking at? Because they were prepared to sit him. I mean, James Wiseman took the initiative, but one of the reasons he took the initiative is because his attorney people probably got together and said, well, if they're not going to tell us what the penalty would be and just keep us in limbo until they decide to drag their feet until January, let's just take this thing to an injunction so you can at least play.
That's exactly right, and that's what the judge did. He said he could play until this thing has kind of gotten more into focus, So.
And at this point, what we have to prepare ourselves for, he may get to play the whole year, and we may get to go to the Elite Eight or whatever, and they may wipe it off.
And then they'll take it. They may take it off the books.
But I mean, you can't really take the memories out of your heart. I mean, nobody can take the memories away from.
That's right.
Or playing Kansas or Chris Douglas Roberts dunking on
I
Kevin
know.
Love. That'll never be
I thought of
taken out
him.
of my mind.
CDR, yeah.
Yeah, so basically that's what we got to look forward to. Now, what I'm hoping that it doesn't lead to no sanctions next year.
I know.
Ban from the
Exactly.
ban from postseason next year. See, them jokers, they're low down enough to pull something like that.
Why do they want to do that? I thought they were nice people.
Well, Tennessee's going through a similar situation, but it was through that draft. It was through the portal thing.
Oh, yeah. See, you're probably going to have some of that.
Euros Pavlich, he went to Arizona State.
Get Rob Brown on my show with me. Can you reach him
in? Via Chattanooga. He was from Chattanooga, and he signed with Arizona State.
Yeah.
And then now they're not letting him play. They've done appealed it twice, and they ain't letting him play.
I don't get it.
The thing about it is the NCAA, they got FBI investigations going on with Arizona, Duke, Kansas, and all these other students, all these other well-known schools, and nobody's ineligible yet, and coaches still working. How do you select a guy from Tennessee, a guy from Memphis, and say that they're ineligible, but you got folk that's got criminal cases?
Hold him over.
FBI, and then everybody's playing, everybody's going on national TV, doing their normal thing.
Yeah.
I don't get that. I don't know how long are we going to put up with this foolishness?
Yeah, that's right. But what do we do? I mean, who has the power to do it? Not the GOP. They don't have the nerve to go up against those Democrats. This is kind of an analogy. I want you to stay on through the break. I've got to take a break. I've got to get someone in touch with somebody.
Well, I tell you, I got to run, but listen,
Okay.
I just want to put my little 2 cents in. Go Tigers! I'm happy for the Vols for Shane's sake.
Yeah.
I'm happy the
Well,
Cowboys
thank you.
lost. I'm glad the Titans are doing good.
Yeah, you
And my
like
team, the Packers,
you're right.
You like them 49ers too.
Get rid of
don't you?
Jason
No, I
Garrett.
don't like the 49ers, but I do think they need to impeach Jerry Jones.
Hey, I love the expressions. I was watching him last night, but they didn't score in that last drive.
Yeah, he got a contract that says you must show him every time Dallas score and show him every time they lose. That is amazing how they have to show his face.
That's a
Listen,
trick.
have a good day, man.
Thanks, Preacher. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, that was Vincent, folks. We're going to take a break, but we'll be back here in just a moment here on Sports Call.
See if Adrian, is it Adrian? What's your, hey, take those off. Is it Adrian, Andre, what's her name? What's wrong? Hey!
But I can't see a thing.
Though bankruptcy might be your last resort, it can help you make a fresh start and move forward with your life. The attorneys at McElroy & Associates help clients in Tennessee and Mississippi recover from financial troubles, prevent foreclosures, and stop those horrible repossessions and those horrible phone calls. Oh my word. Call them right now at 888-871-3678. Or you can complete a form online. It'll take a moment because your first consultation is free, and it's www.jmcElroy.com. Get in touch with Jimmy today and his staff. He has 2 locations right here in Memphis, one on South Mendenhall, the other one downtown on Jefferson Avenue. Give him a call. I'm telling you, he says it, and it's true. Bad things happen to good people, but you know what? He can put the toothpaste back in the tube for you.
Hey, which one are you in? Here.
Miracles. He has a record that is above reproach. Give Jimmy McElroy and his staff a call today. That number again is 888-871-3678. Jimmy McElroy, attorneys.
Oh, absolutely. Lifeguards, like wow, one of them's got a great singing voice.
Functional Independence is an accredited organization providing quality care throughout Shelby, Tipton, and Fayette counties. When your loved one is seeking compassionate, skilled care and a holistic approach to healing, the caring staff of Functional Independence Healthcare is at your service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A nurse, physical therapist, certified nursing assistant, and even a social worker are at your fingertips. Large enough to service the Mid-South, small enough to provide dedicated patient care. Functional Independence Home Care. Caring is our business.
I know
Germantown Hardware is located in the heart of Germantown at the corner of Germantown Road and Poplar Avenue. They offer a wide variety of services to meet your every need. They have a lawn and garden center. They have small engine repairs, custom computer patch center. They also have the custom lock services, screen and glass repair, lamp repair, and other household repairs. In a word, they're your real hardware store. And they offer major brands like the Yeti coolers. They don't get any better than that. They also have Benjamin Moore paints. They have Steel, Echo, Weber grills. They just got everything all the way to the Honda engines. You got to go by and visit a real hardware store, and that is the Germantown Hardware Store and Paint. Like I said, located in Germantown at the Germantown Road and Poplar Crossing.
Are you overwhelmed by too many choices, too many decisions, and not enough personal attention? Sleep Cheap is here to help. Sleep Cheap has a queen size pillow set for only $199. Twin size starting at $59. Other queen size is only $99, and a king size is low at $199. No credit check. Everyone's approved. With express delivery and fresh trips arriving daily, it really is the best time of the year to save big during Sleep Cheap. Get your new mattress event going on now.
Hi, I'm Evander Holyfield. When I'm in Memphis, I listen to Sportscall.
You ain't heard that one in a while, have you?
Oh, you finally found a good one.
Well, let's conversation.
No.
Action, please. I love that. All right, let me introduce you to welcome back to Sports Call. First of all, our number 452-3094 get you into the show. I got Rapid Rob Brown with me here. He and his lovely wife, they came in to do some drops for their radio show, which is, tell them what it is, Rob.
Sidelines with Gordon Ford and me on Fridays from 3 to 5 here on WMQM, and a lot of fun. And Snakeskin Cowboy is our producer, and it's a lot of fun. Dave, our manager's great, and Miss Audrey keeps me in line with all the numbers. Gordon and me both, she'll come in here and say, sit up, button that top button. Because, we are live streaming on TV now.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm wearing my Halloween mask.
Well, you can take it off now.
Oh,
wait a minute, you are on there.
That's
I'm
right.
seeing you on the monitor.
Yeah, that's right. I'm hiding behind the mic.
Yeah, I was telling Dave. Speaking of Dave Brown, who is the manager of the stations. I say stations as plural because he's got a bunch of them around that he handles. But anyway, I was telling him the first time I heard you on our show was when Jeff and I were working together, and you came on and you just laid out some information. And when you hung up, I turned to Jeff. I said, Jeff, who was that guy? I mean, you're talking about an encyclopedia. He knows, I mean, not only the teams, but he knows the counties they live in. I mean, it's amazing what this young man knows. And he just kind of said, well, yeah, I know him. I know Ron. I said, well, get excited, dadgummit, because I was,
Yeah,
So
I loved it.
I'm glad you stayed with us,
Hey.
and now you're part of the team, and I appreciate that.
Love to be, man. It's a lot of fun. I mean,
Well, you know your business. That's something that's just wonderful.
and it's a passion. I mean, you can feel. I try to feel the passion of every fan base.
Sure.
I'm an Auburn grad. You're a Georgia man.
Yep.
But what makes it so much fun is it matters to the people that are listening, that are calling in, and it matters to them. So it really matters to us.
Yeah, and it should. And if you're worth your salt, you want to make sure that they're satisfied.
That's right.
All right, so the great segue into the Georgia-Auburn game this weekend. I want your expertise on this because you've got it, you understand it. Did y'all have a bye this weekend?
We had a bye this past weekend.
Okay,
Yes.
so
We struggled with ourselves though offensively.
yeah. Well, but Bo Nix is coming around. Your quarterback. He's a young freshman, true freshman.
Oh yeah, true freshman.
Go ahead.
He came in. Bo Nix has been programmed from birth. I mean, his father, Patrick Nix, played at Auburn 91 through 95 and was a starter for 2 years. Then he coached. He was offensive coordinator for the Miami Hurricanes, Georgia Tech, but a great high school coach, like Bo's grandfather, Patrick's dad. And he's been programmed from, again, his whole life to be ready for this moment. But like anybody, he came in last January. Went through the spring.
apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
It's right, and he's been prepared for this. But you can't simulate real live action in practice. They can't hit you as a quarterback.
Right.
Those guys playing for Georgia Saturday are going to be looking to take his head off. I mean, good, clean football, that's fine there, but it's a different thing. But I think Bo Nix has a great future. Lars Anderson wrote a great article on Bleacher Report. We had him interviewed Lars and put him up on the podcast on Sidelines.Live Friday. he wrote an article 2 weeks ago about Bo Nix being the next elite great college quarterback.
Yeah.
The day before Auburn played LSU. Thank you, Lars, but he struggled. But it's interesting. Bo Nix is 45% completions on the road in games against Florida and LSU. He's 65% completions at home in Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Don't want to hear that.
Much better, but again, look, you're facing a Georgia team, and this is a renewal of the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Again, February 20th, 1892, Piedmont Park, Atlanta, Georgia. Auburn won 10-0 with about 5,000 people on hand. And do you know?
10,000. That's a bunch back then.
It's right. What the mascot for the Georgia team was at that time?
A goat.
A goat.
I
That's
remember
right.
that.
And he was wearing a black and red cape. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I like it now.
Yeah, I black and red. You got on those.
I know. I wear so much Georgia stuff. People think I still live there.
Look, oldest rivalry in the Deep South. Auburn, Georgia's like first cousins getting together for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and
disagree a little.
Oh yeah, but look, that is the Auburn Club in West Georgia, Auburn Club, and the West Georgia Club in LaGrange, Georgia, will have a huge party Friday night. They do it every year, but that's what makes this rivalry. Auburn, Lee County is on the Georgia line, an hour and a half from Atlanta. Recruit almost every player on both teams is recruited by both schools, and they all know each other. Makes the rivalry a lot of fun.
And you know what's kind of interesting? Just these little nuggets that enter into the historical factor, like Pat Dye went to Georgia. The head coach when they had that great team and Bo Jackson, and then of course Vince Dooley went to Auburn, and then they switched places, and it becomes a sweet rivalry even before. Even after what had already been started in, like you said, 1892.
Yeah, and you go back to Ralph Jordan. Shug Jordan's son is a friend of mine, and he was telling me that as a kid, I think Ralph was, at the time, he was probably 14 years old, and they were after practice one day. Shug Jordan, Auburn's coach, said, men, I want everybody to take a knee. We got an announcement to make. Coach Dooley, who's been with us since he graduated from Auburn after some time, I think, in the Army, has accepted the job as the new football coach at the University of Georgia. And he's going to be taking another one of our coaches with him, Coach Russell. Erskine Irk Russell.
Absolutely.
And he was cool before Yul Brynner and Telly Savalas had a damn head peel, and he was the man.
Oh, man, I'm glad you bring him up, because I have a it's in my office.
Yeah.
But I'm with he and Leonard Postosty, and they both had bald heads, and they were talking. My wife and Postosty's wife was there, but we were honoring Irk Russell over there in Savannah at the Soda Hilton, and it was a lovely night. With tails and dresses. It was a beautiful evening, but old Irk had that cigar with him, boy. We were able to smoke back then, and so it was inside of me. But he was just and the program he put together at Georgia Southern just went from nothing to zoom.
Yeah, they started in 1964. He went over to Georgia with Vince Dooley, and it was really cool. Joel Eves had won the SEC basketball champion at Auburn. Joel Eves and the Seven Dwarves in 1960 at Auburn. He then went to Georgia to become their athletic director, and he came over and got Vince Dooley in 1964 and Irk Russell to go to Georgia. And ironically, the football field at Sanford Stadium is named Vince Dooley Field.
This year.
An Auburn graduate, that's right. A Murphy High School graduate from Mobile, Alabama, along with his wife Barbara, both Auburn grads.
Oh, yeah.
Pat Dye from Blythe, Georgia, Richmond Academy near Augusta. And he was an All-American at Georgia. His brothers Nat and Wayne preceded him. And our football field at Auburn was dedicated in 2005 with the Alabama game. Auburn won that one 28-23. Pat Dye Field. He's a Georgia man. It's crazy. That's what this rivalry. Now, the funny thing is, Pat Dye, when he was interviewing for the Auburn job, he quit his job Christmas Eve, 1980. Married with 4 kids. Flew down to Atlanta, to private airport, to meet with the Auburn coaching search committee.
Who was this?
Pat Dye.
All right, Pat. Okay.
And great interview Dye had. And as he was leaving to get back on the plane to fly out to Wyoming, where he just completed his first year, they went 6-5. Before that, he'd been in East Carolina 74-79 and was 48-18-1. and built the Pirates into a big program. And from 65 to 73, he was on the staff for Coach Bryant at Alabama, won a couple of national championships, and great pedigree. But when he was leaving in 1980, that interview up in Atlanta, a couple of the search committee men asked him, they said, hold on a second, Pat, come here. How can you be the Auburn coach if you were an All-American for Wally Butts at Georgia and you coached with Coach Bryant at Alabama? And he goes, I looked at him, I said, I'll tell you why I need to be your coach, because I know how to whip your brass. And they said, we'll get back to you. And that was before cell phones,
Oh, yeah.
I think when he landed, they pretty much started saying, okay, what do we do? And January 2nd of 1981, he got up there and gave that great speech. He said, I can remember when those blue and orange jerseys from the University of Auburn, Auburn University, would put the fear of God into people. And he said, look, it ain't nothing magic about it. They put their pants on at Georgia and Alabama and LSU and Florida and Tennessee just like anybody else. We just got to go get the players, and we're going to outwork them. We'll be the best prepared, hungriest team in America.
Right.
But that Auburn-Georgia rivalry, so many cool stories. Vince Dooley, Pat Dye, both still living.
Yeah.
And the forgotten, I think one of the most forgotten men in Georgia football history, Fran Tarkenton.
Oh, I love him. We were just talking about him. Just today I was talking, we were using him in an analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I was at lunch with Doc. Anyway, I think I've mentioned him before. I've already played tennis this morning, see, so that's why I'm kind of worn out of here, I look kind of ragged. But we were talking about, and we used an expression of he was the first. I said, oh, I know what it was. The papers today said that Lamar Jackson is going to change the paradigm of the position.
No.
Because he runs it. No.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was just saying. And then he said, oh, Frank Tarkenton was the first one. You remember he had all these guys chasing him, all 11 players, and the wide receiver go out. And when Fran said, I'm tired of running, he just threw a touchdown pass.
Yeah. You know, Fran Tarkenton still ranks as the 6th winningest coach in NFL history, 124 victories. Now, he and Norm Van Brocklin don't regularly exchange Christmas cards.
No, he's a different person.
Yeah, but
great quarterback.
Yeah, Fran Tarkenton's dad was a Presbyterian minister.
Yeah,
and they grew up was born in D.C. and they transferred down to Athens.
Right.
And he grew up going to the YMCA there and playing sport. But Fran Tarkenton is 79 years old, still lives in Atlanta. And we know someone that works with him, and he's very close to Archie Manning. But
that's right.
In '59, he led Georgia in that comeback with teammate Patrick Fane Dye. In 1959, they beat Auburn in Athens 14-13. After that, they started playing the game in Auburn. Prior to that, they played in Columbus, Georgia at Memorial Stadium.
Okay.
But that is the Deep South's oldest continuous rivalry.
Right.
And it is just, you talk about, I'll be down there Saturday, and I've got to be in Atlanta Friday and go down Saturday to Auburn. But that is just that rivalry is incredible. It's Auburn, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, of course, Auburn, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee are the old ones to me.
Oh, yeah.
And this Auburn LSU rivalry, if something weird can happen, it can happen there. But the Auburn, Georgia one is the closest, most tradition-rich that Auburn has, because World War II they didn't play, but the similarities in the two schools are there's so many.
Yeah.
The difference really is the nicknames and the school colors.
And the thing of it is, they don't really, even though they are just a wonderful tradition that's been going on forever.
Yeah.
It doesn't surface like the world's biggest cocktail party against Florida, or you against Alabama. You see what I mean? So so it's kind of, but when you look at the purity, then you see that game and you go, whoa, and you never know who's going to win that game.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
The visiting team traditionally has an advantage in the Auburn-Georgia rivalry. And
now, why is that if they're playing at all?
It's a strange rivalry, but it's changed in the last, really in the last couple of decades. Auburn won the decade in the series. They won the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. They would typically win 6 out of 10 games. In the last 19 games, Georgia is 13-6 against Auburn. Mark Richt really changed all of that when he came to Georgia in 2001. Not bad, but he just made it really hard to get players out of Georgia. Auburn always does well in Georgia, but right now Auburn's got 4 of the top 12 recruits in the state of Georgia already committed for this recruiting class that will be signed in December and February. But that rivalry, they recruit. Georgia's a better state for high school football, in my opinion, than Texas. And it's got half the people.
Yeah, I think you're right. Do you think maybe some of those players in Texas are going to the other schools like Texas A&M and so Arkansas, places where, remember, it used to be the old Southwest Conference and all, so they all kind of dipped into Texas, but Texas should be playing so much better. I mean, they're going to Baylor now. Baylor's still undefeated, took 3 overtimes,
yes.
But you see what I mean? I mean, so some of that, some of those players have gone on to other schools.
I'll say this, that in Texas, 1969 and 70, I think in 70 Texas was a co-national champion with Ohio State. And since 1970, the state of Texas now has 27 million people, 7 major football schools. I'm talking about major. There's a lot of Texas, San Antonio that have come along here.
Right.
But since 1970, the state of Texas has produced 1 national champion.
I know it.
Now, Baylor could be the next one, but that was in 2005 when Vince Young went around right end and they beat Southern Cal, I believe, 41-38 or 45-42. And I just think that the kids in Texas, Tommy Tuberville's on our show on Fridays. He left Auburn in 2010, 11, 12, coached at Texas Tech.
And I remember that.
He thinks that it may be the kids have just burned out by the time they get to college, because you've got 40 and 50,000 seat stadiums for high school in Texas. Georgia, the difference in Georgia and Texas and Alabama and Texas, it's a blue collar, hardcore, hard work mentality. Not that they don't have that in Texas, but I also think Texas and Texas A&M have too much money, and I think they've almost emasculated their football culture.
I was going to suggest that because of the network and everything in Texas. I mean, Texas is kind of an entity of themselves.
They are.
And but what I like, I remember Roy Smith, who was the first really. He played at Georgia on the line, but he was in Savannah, Georgia. You don't normally get that. Mm-hmm. Now he was. I'm just thinking of a couple of them that have come out that went pro, and that's a long time ago. But I still remember them, and it's amazing you do remember these. I mean, I still remember that Colt McCoy. Was it Colt McCoy to Shipley? Is that his name?
Yes.
Such a good athlete. I just don't understand why they don't show up in the NFL.
Well, it's interesting to me, like Texas is on almost this. They still got time to do it. They're on the verge of their 10th straight year, University of Texas, losing at least 4 games in a season. How do you do that with the money, $14+ billion endowment?
What do you think of their coach, Herman?
I think Tom Herman is a victim of the Big 12. They don't coach fundamentals out there. They don't coach the quarterback position like it used to be coached and it needs to be coached. Yeah. And they don't coach defense out there. It's just outscore the other guys, have a couple of good edge rushers on the ends.
Yeah.
But compare the front sevens. Look, I know someone could call up and say, well, Texas really whipped Georgia. Just lay it out. Georgia had 0 interest. I'm not saying that's right. They could care less.
Alabama, Oklahoma.
When they were out of the playoff, and
Trevor Knight was a quarterback, and he played so well that year, and he just came. We were playing. I do. These young kids, they have emotions too, more so than we do.
Yeah, and I think that like you saw Auburn the year before when they'd lost to Georgia in the rematch.
Right.
They just weren't strong enough to do it, and they got beat by Central Florida.
His arm. I know it.
Yeah, but you look at what goes on in college football. We've got some stuff happening. The quarterback at Houston wants to lay out and come back next year.
Yeah.
No, do not. You're not coming back. I don't care how good you are. I would not allow a kid like that back on my team. I think the transfer portal is going to cannibalize it because, as I say a lot, it's the LinkedIn, it's the athletic version of LinkedIn. A bunch of people that are unhappy with their current job that all get together and have a misery fest.
You're right. Everybody's looking for that. But sometimes you just go back to 0 and just and just enjoy it for what it is. They try to when they try to up it, make it better. But if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah. Think about Kirby Smart, your coach.
Yeah.
Kirby's from Bainbridge or Tifton, Georgia.
Yeah.
Die-hard dog fan. And, Audrey's daughter, my stepdaughter, ran into Kirby Smart Friday, July 12th. up on Lake Oconee or Lake Burton.
Yeah.
Sent a picture. I'm like, God, that's Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
And as he walked, she graduated from Alabama, but she's still a good person. And I like to jokingly say that because my best friend's an Alabama graduate.
Jersey.
Yeah, he's still a good person.
He's still a good person.
No, but I have so many Alabama friends. It's funny, and I tell them, I go, y'all are such good people and so good to me. God, it makes it hard to hate Alabama. I don't hate anybody. I love Auburn, and I get into everybody else's passion. That's what I love. But they ran into Kirby Smart. Now, Mallory graduated from Alabama. Her boyfriend is a Tennessee guy, okay? And Kirby Smart walked up. He goes, "Are you a dog fan?" She goes, "No, but I'm your fan." And he started laughing. And she said, "I came to Alabama in the fall of '07, and I left in the summer of 2011. She was one of the orphan graduates that never got to graduate when the tornadoes hit. So they came back in August. Her mom is in the studio with me, Audrey. Wasn't it August when they came back and graduated? And that's what they did.
Yeah.
But Kirby Smart, look at his pedigree.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's an incredible recruiter.
Yeah.
And I've been told this. I don't know how true it is, but he was the candidate to replace Gene Chizik in 2012. Supposedly, the Auburn Search Committee had Kirby Smart in there. Everything was good to go. I know Pat Dye and a lot of people really like Kirby Smart.
Oh yeah. How can you
And
not?
he said, I think he could have been Auburn's coach. But he said, I want to coach in the championship game against Notre Dame. And in hindsight, they beat Notre Dame so bad, I think you or I could have been defensive coordinator and won that game. It was such a mismatch.
Right.
It looked like clubbing baby seals out there, George. They beat them, Notre Dame so bad. But he wanted to coach that game, and they said no. And there were people thinking, well, Mark Richt is gone, he'll leave us. It doesn't work that way. The last time Auburn lost a coach who left for another job, I'm not talking about being fired but was 1922. Mike Donahue left for a raise of up to $10,000 on his contract. Big deal back then.
Yeah.
He didn't do well at LSU, but I understand they named Mike the Tiger after him. People don't leave Auburn or Georgia or Alabama for other jobs. It doesn't happen. They may get fired.
Yeah. Well, except for this, I think it was just, sort of like taking a bite of food on your fork and it slips off and you go, I was looking forward to that. I think that was kind of the circumstance with Mark Richt going back to Miami. It was just I got to get that one bite in, and because that's his alma mater.
Yes.
And he wanted to go back and see, and he did a good job what he did, but I gave him the chance to, go out on his own.
Well, now anyone that's ever met Mark Richt tells you this. He's just as fine a guy as you're going to ever meet.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No doubt.
He just 15 years. Winning, 9-10 games, at
That's
least
right.
a couple of 7-win seasons, but they just want more. And I think just
that get out of the red zone enough.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I think Rick is such a nice guy that his players almost look at him as like their friend.
Yeah.
Like Brent Bielema at Arkansas, his players loved him because he used to do a lot of stuff with them.
Yeah.
And I think when Bielema was fired at Arkansas, I had a friend of mine that played for the Hogs point this out. He goes, they held that against the administration at Arkansas, and the next coach who came in this case Chad Morris, was doomed to fail, and that's unfortunate. But God, Kirby Smart, can you imagine being in the state of Georgia, driving around in a black, F-150 or whatever, with a red and black tag? Come on, you're like Elvis walking into Caesar's Palace. That's incredible. What he's done. But Georgia, look at it. Tennessee's the 9th winningest program in the history of college football. Number 10's Georgia. Number 11's LSU. Number 12 is Auburn. Number 13 is West Virginia. And that's a state that puts out half a dozen Division I players a year.
Yeah.
Who's number 9?
Tennessee.
And who's number 10?
Georgia.
You weren't supposed to say that. I thought you were out of the studio.
No.
You heard that, huh?
Yeah. But you think about these tradition. I'm going to bring it up on the show Friday. A friend of mine who's a huge Tennessee fan. Their family's season tickets they've had up there for 80 or 90 years in Knoxville. Still have them. Break up these SEC divisions.
Yeah.
Auburn needs to be playing Florida and Tennessee every year. Look, it's just natural. And LSU, wow, what a series.
Yeah.
But these traditions, these games, the state of Georgia high school football in that state is so important. They put out about 180 Division I players a year. Texas, 370 or so.
You got Thomasville, Warner Robins, you got Valdosta,
College Park, Westlake, Banneker,
Jessup, Georgia, down there,
Dalton,
Winston.
Rome, West Rome, Floyd. You got Valdosta, you got Lowndes County, Bainbridge, Tifton, Moultrie, Waycross, golly, Blakely County. That's where Rush Probst, who left from Hoover High School, Columbus, Hardaway, Baker, Phoenix City Central, which when I lived in Columbus, Georgia, 89, 90, 91, TV reporter for Channel 3, we get to cover. I worked with Reese Davis for 2 years. He's on ESPN now, and he's a very smart guy.
He loves this. He loves our city.
He does. He was long distance information. Give me Memphis, Tennessee. That was the best game day I've ever seen.
I know it. And he told Jerry Lawler. He said, "You may be the king, but you're not the king. The king is Elvis Presley."
That's right. God, I went down there to see it. I don't care who you're a fan of. If you live in Memphis, you better be a fan of Memphis. If not, hey, don't let the door hit you on the way out. But that was the best I've ever seen a game day.
The second one was when Bruce Pearl and John Calipari were 1-2, and they had a night game here.
Yes.
Tennessee beat us. But the promo of the city, and at night when they showed those neons down on Beale Street, I mean, it just thrills me.
It thrills me. I mean, I went down there to see it Friday night after the show, about 6:30. The game day setup was all there.
Yeah.
It was like Christmas Eve, and the fans and people were taking their kids down there. It's the biggest thing some of them had ever seen, and they'll never forget that. And the game, David Pollock and the whole game day crew. And is there a better? Al Trotwick was incredible. His features he would do on
I hadn't
sports.
seen it or heard
I know.
him so
Now
long.
it's Tom Rinaldi.
Yeah.
The feature he did on Kenny Gainwell and his brother from Yazoo.
I saw that.
That was
awesome.
I mean, 5 minutes, and it was like a epic film.
Yeah.
But
they do
exposure that Memphis is getting. I bet that their phones are ringing off the wall.
Yeah.
Recruits around the country wanting to come to Memphis, and these guys are great at evaluating talent.
Yeah.
How do you find Kenny Gainwell? I looked him up. Number 124 running back in America.
Yeah. Well, and he shows up because now Patrick Taylor will be available this weekend, I believe.
Yes.
And I heard his report yesterday on the news, and he's just a beautiful human being.
Yeah,
and he says it's about character.
Yeah.
All right.
It's incredible.
Can Dan be with us all at one time? Let me just say one thing. Dan, you put Dan through is fine. Dan's the man. I like Dan.
All right.
Dan knows his sports. I used to rep Dan in basketball.
There you go.
Dan, how are you, buddy?
Hey guys, how's it going?
We're doing great. Have you met Rapid Rob Brown?
Hey, Dan.
Hey, no, I haven't.
Oh, well, I gave him that name because he knows what he's saying, but he doesn't lose continuity, and he's got speed. Speed to kill.
Now, Dan, you can catch him on sidelines Fridays 3 to 5.
Yeah, afternoon.
Okay. Does he wear a lot of jewelry and his pants sag or anything? Or?
Nothing like that.
No.
Okay.
No.
You can tell by the way he talks and what he's talking about. You know that's not.
Well, guys, the thing that jumps out at me is nobody said anything about Alex Lomax living with Anthony Hardaway for 2 years.
I hadn't heard that, but that'll come
He
out,
was
I'm
with him
sure.
2 years, at least 2 years. I know for a year, but maybe 2 at the most. But yeah, he's like a dad to Alex.
Yeah.
And nobody's mentioned that. And,
is that terrible?
Alex Hardaway 2 years ago if he thought he'd be the coach, he wouldn't know.
Nobody.
Yeah. And this whole booster thing, booster for life, I give money in the kettle for the Santa Claus guy. That doesn't mean I'm wanting to be a Santa Claus Christmas person all year round.
Right.
Yeah.
They're looking for things to split hairs over. I just don't get it because, somebody said something, and who knows that they're not getting paid under the table so they can take this thing out to the public. I mean, some of it is, to me, use your common sense.
Well, I don't like they've known about it for a while. They really own it in May, so it was fine. And the NCAA is the worst run organization in the whole world, I believe.
Who is what? The NCAA?
The NCAA.
Oh, no doubt.
What you got to do is, say if you went to jail or went to court for embezzling money, and they said, look, if you plead guilty, you get 4 years. The NCAA is you got to plead guilty, then we're going to tell you what you get.
Yeah.
That's the way they work on that.
Sort of like this impeachment thing that's going on.
Yeah.
We ain't got a crime yet, but we're gonna peach just in case there's one.
Keep throwing stuff against the wall till it sticks. That's the
right.
old James Carville, Clinton's campaign manager motto.
Absolutely.
And, Dan, I'll tell you what, the NCAA, the way they work, they don't, I'm not a lawyer, but look, they don't have subpoena power, okay? So they go on hearsay and accusation, speculation, whatever. You get a good trial lawyer, and last time I checked, Leslie Ballin is pretty darn good, okay? He's forgotten more than both of us know about the Constitution.
Yeah, his son's picking up his slack now.
And Buck or whatever, yeah, and
You know what the young guys are calling him, don't you?
what's
Leslie
that?
Ballin. Like he's balling.
Yeah. Well, I hope
Absolutely.
it just makes me fresh. I'm an Auburn grad, but I live in Memphis. I love the University of Memphis. Absolutely. If you live in Memphis, you ought to pull for the Tigers. Put your little petty grievances and jealousies aside and be a team player. If you want to be negative, that's your right. But I mean, I'm from Memphis. But I'll tell you what, the timing of this is
That's what it
sick.
is.
And if it's been and now there's all these accusations out there. And again, you don't know what you're going to do 8 years ago, 2 years ago.
No.
There was no deal made. There could have been speculation, but what it is look what they did to North Carolina with Roy Williams.
Yeah.
Look what they did to Miami.
Yeah.
The NCAA is run by Big Ten people. There are no Southerners that I know of on the board.
Well,
People that make
Archie
it.
used to be. Remember, and Archie got off. He said he can't go against all that. I mean, he's a competitor too, but this has been some years ago.
Yeah, it'd be. I'm just saying it'd be interesting. Mark Emmert, former president at LSU, who was there when Nick Saban was there, is the head guy for the NCAA in Indianapolis. But it's run by Big Ten and Memphis. I've never seen them ever give Memphis the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully, this will be the first time they do it because they're going up against, Leslie Ballin. If it can be proven, then so be it. If it's a violation, they'll be punished. But who's behind this? Who leaked it? And what's the motive? It's obvious. Memphis is trending upward in football and basketball, and you've got a lot of miserable people out there that can't stand it. It's right. It's driven. No, look, if it's a violation and they can prove it, okay. But it's the fact that the way it's handled, that's what makes me suspicious.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, they pick and choose their battles.
Yes.
And it's usually against somebody that's not a, I hate saying this for a blue blood.
Yeah.
But, North Carolina let them slide, but these kids going in, taking coloring and getting straight A's.
Yeah.
And no regular kids going to take their class. It had to be a student athlete.
That's right.
Actually a man student athlete. That bothered me. And then with the thing with Michael Moore, which I think it was a good thing, but still they rattled their cage a little bit, and that was it. About them adopting him or taking him in at 16 or 17.
Yep.
And then he goes Ole Miss. I mean, they got away with it. They didn't get any games suspended or anything.
Well, I've always said
that's a good point. Yeah, they made a movie out of it.
Yeah, I'm saying I've always felt like, hey, if you're gonna go adopt somebody off the streets, go find you a guy that looks like Urkel or something that plays the tuba.
Yeah.
Okay.
6'7" that runs a 4.6.
Yeah, exactly.
Did I do that?
Yeah, somebody go. I want to go adopt some guy that looks like Woody Allen or something. Not some guy that. Yeah, I mean,
Not like his
on.
son who looks like Frank Sinatra.
Hey, maybe Disney will take that movie script, but I never watched it. I just think that I guess there's some things that go on in basketball, AAU, and whatever. Mark Twain was right. If you like the law and you like sausage, don't ever watch either one of them being made.
Well, and I'll tell you something else that happened. Is all the coaches that was in this big FBI investigation, the guy's still coaching at LSU, the guy's still coaching at Arizona.
No.
If nothing happened to them, they're going to worry about something we did 3 years ago, the coach did 3 years ago to help a kid who's a straight-A student, speaks Mandarin Chinese. I mean,
yeah. Oh, my goodness. It's gotten out of hand. Yeah.
Hey,
he's
Dan,
really hard to describe what he reminds me of, but he's good.
Dan, you know what's frustrating is when I was at Auburn, Auburn got in trouble back in '93 with a kid named Eric Ramsey on the football team. Got put on probation in '93 and '94. No bowls. TV for 1 year, but no bowls for 2 years. Auburn went 21-1 in those 2 years when Terry Bowden was there. That kid Eric Ramsey used to come over, to the house when we were in school. I had a bunch of fraternity brothers that went to school with Eric. He was I think one of only 2 or 3 black kids in the whole school there in Homewood, in Birmingham. And we tutored him in math, helped him any way we could. He got a girl pregnant when he was in school, and we did whatever we could to help him. That's called we compassion. You care about people. And look what happened to Auburn for being, trying to look. If you saw what went on behind the scenes with a lot of these college student athletes, how could you not want to help them have enough money to eat? Look, they won't even allow them unless they get an order from Congress to be able to fly home for a mother's or father's funeral. It's
that's what I was going to say.
They're worthless.
Ray Brown did that for Vincent Esky when his grandmother died, who practically raised him.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's the only NCAA violation he really ever had was that.
That's awful.
That was just helping the kid
That's
out,
awful. Where's common sense and compassion? What Rob was just talking about.
Those are words that the NCAA doesn't know, Bill. They don't take into account to anything when it comes to these kids.
Everything's analytical and statistics.
And
that's funny. To bring this full circle, Tim Tebow talked about how the kids shouldn't get paid. Tim Tebow's parents made about $200,000 a year apiece. It's not like he was looking for a McDonald's to get the meal that night,
Yeah.
It's easy to look down on people and judge them when you've never walked in their shoes.
I mean, listen, I was talking to Tommy Tuberville. It's on a podcast on the sidelines.live we did yesterday. He was talking about when he and Ed Orgeron were young in the mid-'80s down at Miami with Jimmy Johnson and Dennis Erickson. They stayed down there. Right. He said, we were so broke, we didn't know we were going to eat. I mean, you're talking unpaid graduate assistants.
Right.
And he was talking about, look at how far, Ed Orgeron, he goes, he introduced me to my wife. I was in his wedding. He was in my wedding. He goes, I was at that game in Tuscaloosa Saturday, and you could see the tears, coming out. And he goes, he's a tough man. He goes, but he knows what he's come from. And you think they don't care about these players? I've heard a coach say one time, look, when you're recruiting some of these kids, they don't have electricity, okay? They are the hope in that family to go out and change. You can change that neighborhood. And I had a coach tell me one time, he said, look, I used to go down to the end of the dirt road and take a left, okay? That's tough. You're recruiting a kid. There's 7 people in a 2-bedroom house, 5 kids, 2 adults, and they got 6 pairs of pants that they share, okay? I don't want to hear, Rodney Garner, Auburn's recruiting coordinator, defensive line coach, said that when Pat Dye came to recruit him, we didn't have a dishwasher. He said after my mother made, dinner, and Coach Dye came in there and said, look, I grew up, working on our farm in South Georgia, sharecropping. Half the families that rented houses on our farm were black, half of them were white. He said, I ain't never been segregated a day in my life. He said, I used to spend the night over at their houses. They spend the night at our house. We didn't know any different. But he went in there and he washed dishes with Rodney Garner's mother. And they talked about life. And they said as soon as he walked out the door, she goes, Dad, you signing with that man right there. I mean, and that's you know what I'm talking about. Penny Hardaway is a very, very compassionate, generous man. Okay? Look, I'm not saying, you can do whatever you want to do, but I mean, look, just look at the big picture. There's a lot of hypocrisy, and they cherry pick who they're going to go after.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, you can say if you're guilty, and you're going to have Leslie Ballin. Good. You got to prove it. Remember, the burden of proof lies with who in this country? The prosecution.
That's right.
Don't ever forget that.
That's right.
That's true. I'll leave y'all on this. The lady that helped raise me was a black lady, and she always said, Danny, a white behind and a black hand equals one red ass.
That works, though. That certainly works.
Yeah, he was great.
I want to share something with you guys. Today is Veterans Day, so salute to all you veterans out there. And I live in Oakland now, so I'm driving down 40, right? And I get there to Canada Road, they have that new viaduct and everything. Up there, Danny, there was a gentleman in the service. He was in full dress, standing there with the ensign beside him. That's the flag for those who have never been in the military. So there I am, and I'm driving up, and I said, is that a mannequin up there or whatever? But anyway, I threw a salute to him, and he cocked his arm and saluted me back. And I'm telling you, I got chills all over my body. That is the most quintessential moment of recognizing these veterans and what they've been through and what they've been through for our country. I couldn't wait to call my wife, and tell her to share it with somebody. And I said, I get on the radio, I can't forget to say this. So, Danny, you being on the air, knowing you're hearing this, and you, Rob, and Shane, you know, it just makes me know that there's people around me who say, wait a minute, take a moment and please appreciate what our service personnel are doing for us and what they've done for us in the past. So I had to share that with you guys. We got to go to break.
I agree with you 100%. And I'll tell you what sucks. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but what's bad?
A lot of things.
The hospital, the way they treat the veterans and stuff, it's a shame.
It's supposed to be getting better.
You know, that's awful. The difference between them and NCAA is just two worst run organizations there are.
Yeah, and remember,
I don't want to take up anybody else's time. I know you probably got a lot of callers ready to call in and stuff.
We appreciate that.
But
I got to go to break.
You know, everybody use a little common sense on this. I think everything right, because the last thing I want to do is we miss this once-in-a-lifetime talent and get to watch him every night because of some
stupid, some Philadelphia lawyer. Okay.
We'll get to a guy that's a mix between Kevin Garnett and David Robinson.
Yeah,
you know?
the old Larry Keenan. You know, just say a Larry Keenan without the height.
7'1", he's left-handed, runs the floor better than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah. They can't steal
that. To watch him play if that's what happens.
He's so physically gifted. I mean, he's coordinated at 7'1", Dan, and I mean, look,
he's a good guy.
Yeah, he speaks. Hey, I can't speak Chinese. I can speak a few languages, but I cannot speak Chinese. He's pretty damn smart. I hope it works out.
We sure do. Dan, thank you.
I'm good at the pig Latin, but that's about it.
Thank you. You're right.
Thank you, Dan.
Enjoy the show, guys. Hey, it was nice meeting you, my friend.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for the call, and stand your ground, man. And if you're out today, you see a veteran, go give him a hug, pat on the back, pick up their tab, but tell them this.
Exactly.
My brother-in-law.
When I see him, I do that. It doesn't have to be veterans.
Same here. My brother-in-law, Audrey's brother, 26 years in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
He was in Fallujah the night before they went in, got a letter from General Mattis. Listen, thank these people. Without them, we ain't on the radio anyway.
That's it.
Hey, have a great time.
Thank you so much,
guys,
man.
have a good one, my friend.
All right. We'll be back after this sports call timeout.
No, we're fine. No, this is fun. Look. Oh, okay. No, she's not mad. Look, come here.
One of the things that makes a truly great restaurant is how much they use local products. And 117 Prime, Memphis's premier downtown dining destination, is no exception. Whenever possible, Prime works with local farmers to bring the freshest ingredients to you. That goes for everything, including the bar, which carries Blue Note Bourbon and Riverset Rye, both locally distilled spirits. 117 Prime is committed to the finest quality in everything they do, and you'll know it from the first bite and the first sip that you're in a really, truly special restaurant. You'll know you're at Prime. In case you haven't noticed, there's a renaissance going on in downtown Memphis, and you could enjoy a perfect panoramic view of everything that's happening at 3rd and Court, Memphis's new downtown diner. Settle into a seat at the counter or the spacious booths, or a delicious classic diner meal, have a cocktail if you'd like, and watch the exciting changes that are happening every day in downtown Memphis. This time of year, you can always find a reason to go downtown, and another one of those reasons is 3rd and Court, where old school diner meets today's modern palate. It's time for some good food downtown. It's time for 3rd and Court.
Germantown Hardware is located in the heart of Germantown at the corner of Germantown Road and Poplar Avenue. They offer a wide variety of services to meet your every need. They have the lawn and garden center. They have small engine repair, custom computer paint match center. They also have the custom lock services, screen and glass repair, lamp repair, and other household repairs. In a word, they're a real hardware store. And they offer major brands like the Yeti coolers. They didn't get any better than that. They also have Benjamin Moore paints. They have Steel, Echo, Weber grills. They just got everything all the way to the Honda engines. You got to go by and visit a real hardware store, and that is the Germantown Hardware Store and Paint. Like I said, located in Germantown at the Germantown Road and Poplar Crossing.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. It is that time of year where the weather is unpredictable, and given the recent storms, it's a good time to discuss insurance claims. So here's a few things you should know. Always hire a local contractor, because if you have a problem with your roof down the road, you want to be able to find him. Never allow anyone to pressure you into signing a contingency contract. They're used as sales tools, making you feel committed, and the truth is, those contracts are not worth the paper they're written on. Be careful of door-knocking salesmen. Some are reputable, but many are not. They canvass the neighborhood and tell everyone to file a claim, working the percentages and not caring if you file a claim even when they know the likelihood of it being approved is low. Some will even damage your roof hoping to convince the adjuster it's storm damage. That's fraud, and contractors have gone to jail for that. So do your research and know who you're hiring. Five-Ash Roofing, the official roof of the University of Memphis Athletic Department. Fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
It's what we do. We're here for you.
Compare Mazda first. There's no better time than right now to come to Gwatney Mazda of Germantown during Mazda's Celebrate the Season event. We have great selection and special offers and savings on our entire inventory of award-winning Mazda vehicles. Come in and test drive yours today and see for yourself. Mazda, premium cars at affordable prices. Here at Gwatney Mazda of Germantown, 7300 Winchester, where we make car buying simple.
Hello, this is Edwin Moses, gold medalist in both the 1976 and 1984 Olympic Games.
This is AC Green with the Phoenix Sun.
Hi, I'm Michael Chang. You're listening to Sportscall with Bill, where you don't have to play a sport to be a sport.
Thanks, man. I'll talk to you this week. Absolutely. Well, I'm always gone, but I listen to y'all. I'm so fired up about the game. I love this, Rob. I know it. Yeah, we'll talk on the text. Hey, I'll come in this anytime I can. Thank you, sir.
All right, we're back here on Sports Call. I don't want to interrupt that music. That sounds so good. Okay. All right, number's 452-3094 if you want to jump in and be a part of the show. Boy, I had a nice treat there with Rapid Rob Brown. He usually calls in. He does call in every Thursday afternoon. He's part of our guest that we have on. We also have on Matt Dean. Matt Dean is the athletic director at Rhodes College. And then we also have Yancey Porter. Yancey Porter, of course, has the Ole Miss spirit, does all their sports write-ups and things, and he knows what's going on there at Ole Miss, and we usually have him on. And, of course, my co-host is Gordon Ford on Thursdays. That will be, let's see, that'll be Thursday. I was thinking the day was Wednesday, but anyway, so I want to thank Rob for coming in and being a part of the show with me today. He really knows his sports, and you just kind of watch him and get a little mesmerized on what he knows. And of course, I'm old enough to when he goes back in history, I'm right there with him. So it's been an exciting time. So we're back here, and I got my producer. He's right there. He ran away. I don't know what's happened to my buddy. I don't know.
See how fast I am?
I am. You are fast. That was fast. You know what? Let's see. It was Muhammad Ali who said he could turn off the light and be back in the bed with the covers up before the light went out. Now that's pretty fast.
Pretty quick, man.
Yeah.
I ain't even gonna lie there.
Yeah. So, but wasn't that great? I've never seen anything. I wasn't expecting that this morning when I was coming into town and seeing this guy was like, he was fully dressed. He wasn't one of these here standing there looking like he's in his everyday fatigues. I mean, this guy was looking good. I had all that bright metals and stuff. I looked up there and I said, "That's a mannequin. It's got to be." It wasn't. So I just saluted because I'm a veteran, and I just,
And thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. It was fun. I was stationed in the Navy. I was overseas a couple of tours, but I was in the 6th Fleet. I wasn't in the 7th Fleet. Mm-hmm. The 7th Fleet went over to Vietnam. Mm-hmm. I asked for Vietnam, but they gave me the East Coast, or the 6th Fleet. So I just went to places that were really scary, like Rome and Italy and places like, no, it was fun. I went to the beaches. I was blessed by Pope Paul. I really was. I was in a basilica there, and he walks down the aisle. Usually, they wait till they get up. But he came down the middle of the aisle with that big, I don't know, I've never seen anything like it in the center of the basilica, big brass, like 4 pillars, and it just goes to the ceiling. And I'm going to tell you what, that is a magnificent, St. Peter's Square is magnificent. And I mean, you have to treat it with respect. I went and saw the Sistine Chapel. It wasn't as big as we believe it to, have been, but because we grew up hearing about it, but it was.
That's one place I've always wanted to visit.
A chapel?
That's like on the St. Peter's Square.
It's quite something. Those statues are magnificent.
That's like on my bucket list.
Yeah.
things to do. So, like.
Yeah, like you, I'd like to go back again and appreciate it for what I know about it, my maturity now, and that sort of thing. When you're in the military and you go, it's like, yeah, well, it's just part of the job.
Yeah.
But I was in, Barcelona, Spain, nice places. Yeah, good places. Valletta, Malta was the best place because they had food that was more Americanized than all the other places, except for the spaghetti in Rome. I'm sure they had other good food, but...
This Veterans Day, I'd like to send a shout out to my Uncle Mansell over in Selmer, Tennessee.
Yeah.
He's a World War II veteran.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Italy. And
I went by to see a client today, Germantown hardware store, and I ran into a gentleman who had on that World War II hat and all. I just stopped him and said, "Thank you so much for your service." And he wasn't going to speak to him. He just one of these things. But he thanked me so much for recognizing him and his service. So, yeah, any opportunity you get today. You know what I used to do? I used to go to these places and I said, "Do I get the veterans discount?" And usually they go, "Oh, no, we don't have to." But but today would be a perfect time, to go in because they might just give you one.
Oh yeah.
Get a veterans discount. I did get it one time. I don't remember when and what it was about, but it's usually as I'm coming out to pay for my meal.
Yeah.
I said, "Can I get the veterans discount?" And some of them, they don't. Yeah, okay.
Some of the memorabilia that my Uncle Mansell has is just magnificent. I mean, it's some of. I mean, some of the stuff that he has kept, and I mean, it's in pristine condition. It's like it was never. It's like almost brand new.
Are you in his will?
That they took off of the German soldiers and stuff.
Yeah.
It's magnificent.
Did you get any of their gold teeth or anything?
Pistols,
I'm just saying. Well, listen.
Rifles, and helmets, and uniforms.
It's amazing he was able to get away with it because they have this all kinds of rules.
Yeah, you can mail stuff back too, though.
Yeah, well.
Still do it to this day.
You can trust the mail. But you're right.
They break down a rifle and send it back piece by piece.
Sure. Well, that's what you want to do. You want to try to save this. It's great. I mean, I've got pictures and all from.
And my Uncle Mansell, he'll talk your ear off. A lot of veterans, they don't, especially WW2 veterans, ones that there's very few left. And but. My Uncle Mansell, he'll talk your ear off about it. He loves to talk about it.
Well, certainly. Some of them do, some don't. Just depends on how difficult it is with their minds and stuff like that. But, yeah, let's not take that for granted. We have so much stuff afforded to us through all kinds of opportunities. But, when you hit the bottom foundation on how we got it is because people went to war to give us our freedom. Otherwise, you would have no idea what you couldn't keep, what you could say, what you can't say, where you live, et cetera, how much taxes you pay. People think it's going to be, the young people today, they're just so spoiled because they don't know. They don't have a clue. The greatest generation is moving on up now. We're about to move on out. And if we hadn't left that information, legacy, as it were, to our the next generation, well, what you got? You got people who can't appreciate it because they didn't work for it. And that's really the circumstance we're in today. And but nobody wants to work because they've never had to. Even my wife, sometimes she would do things and I said, "Honey, you've got to let the kids do it, okay?" She said, "I know, and I just want," they grow up, Mom will do it, just leave it undone. Mom. They don't mean to, but you got to train them up early. You got to train them up young, so when they're old, they won't depart from it. See, it's only going to hurt. It may be a little rough on you right now, but you've got to invest to get dividends.
That's right.
Not just money. I'm talking about what I'm just talking about. So consider that. Please put it on your bucket list. That's the best way to put it. All right, so we've got Auburn, and we also have the Georgia game this weekend. That'll be the CBS SEC game of the week.
And who are they playing? Auburn?
Auburn and Georgia. That's what made it so good to have Rob here, because him being an Auburn grad, and boy, what he does
against them number 10 Bulldogs.
We should be higher than that. Oh yeah, you're talking about
All the time,
yeah. Well, that won't last, of course. I mean, this year could change that. Think about it. No, listen. I have a lot of respect for Tennessee. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I meant to ask Rob about Dewey Warren, if you remember him.
I got a buddy.
He's younger than I am. I don't know why he would know, except he's an encyclopedia. He goes in and finds out the history.
I got a buddy he grew up with. His name's Josh. He's a dog fan.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of a dichotomy. And you said that he's a dog fan and he's your friend.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Well,
How can you
you're
be
my
one of
buddy
them?
and you're a dog fan, so I got at least 2 dog fan buddies.
There you go. There you go. That's what you do. All right. So what else is going on in sports? I'm about to run out of things to say, and that's kind of what happens. You know what I mean?
Those mighty Murray State racers come to Knoxville tomorrow night at, I believe, 8 p.m. on the SEC network. Catch it. Catch the new Volunteers. See what they got.
Gotcha. Son, I got a message here. Who's it from? It's from you, Shane. Dadgummit. A long time ago. I didn't get it.
I already done talked to you about it, though. So.
Well, you want to talk to me? Talk to me about it now. Too late. This is what we were talking
I was just
about.
making sure you were coming in on the holiday. That's all.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they would want us to work. They lost their lives. They lost their limbs. They lost their mental capacity so that you and I could come into work today.
That's right.
They said, well, no, that's not true. Yes, it is, because we have a choice. We could or we don't have to. We want to be able to bring what we bring to others. We don't know who we're pleasing out there, who we're not pleasing.
That's right.
So you could, people went to see Muhammad Ali either to watch him win or to watch him lose. But his marketing technique was perfect. That way, tickets were sold from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Bill, how can you know? I don't understand how I come up with this stuff all the time. It just amazes me. I don't know what I'm going to do. Sometime it's got to stop, right? Sometime all this brilliance has to go down a little bit. I'm just kidding, folks. I get that. It's because I'm very fortunate. That's all. Just fortunate. Let's see. Today's Monday. There's a football game tonight.
I believe that might be them Seattle Seahawks.
That's going to be a good game tonight. Now, the 49ers are undefeated, folks. And I'm going to tell you, Russell Wilson is going to, I bet they're playing. Where are they playing? They're playing.
I think it's in Frisco.
Oh, that's going to help. That's going to help. Now, who wants to play out there?
I don't think it's in actually San Francisco. I think after they tore down Candlestick.
No, it's not there. Levi Stadium. It's somewhere out
between San Bernardino and.
Like, for instance, if we were to build a new, football arena here, where do you think they would put it in Memphis?
Probably where the Mid-South Coliseum is.
No, that's still too far. That's right there by them. I'm saying, where would they move it to?
Oh, I mean, like if they built the football stadium?
Yeah, if we were getting a new football stadium, but not replacing where it is now, where do you think they would locate a new football stadium here in Memphis?
They'd put it in Georgia. No, I'm just joking. I would say probably out east somewhere, past Germantown, maybe Carterville area, maybe.
I don't want to go that far. Then you leave your downtown. So I would think maybe how about the park there? The Agri Center, where right there. What's it called?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Put it right there so everybody can kind of get to it from the expressway.
Like 15 minutes from everywhere.
It's tough, there's games I wanted to go to down at the Forum and stuff like that.
Man,
it's just a long way. That was when I was living in Germantown.
My mom, she loves going to Grizzlies games, okay? And when I get the opportunity or get my hands on some tickets, I'll take my mom. She loves her Grizz. What can I say?
They do.
And so we get down, the last time we went, we got down there, we had some tickets, and we get down there, and after 30 minutes of looking for a parking spot, and then, my mom don't get around so good, so she's on a walker, and she makes it to the front door, and finally, the kind people there, they get a wheelchair, they're like, and so then we get to the seating area, and then it don't work out because of the stairs. So
they got escalated.
Yeah,
and elevators.
But I'm talking about from where we were sitting, it just wouldn't work.
Oh, yeah,
'cause
yeah.
My mom couldn't go up and down the steps. Like we was middle aged.
What's the difference between
So what
you?
they did, the nice people, they put us out on the landing and basically upgraded our seats.
Yeah, I started to
Put
say
us
they
out
have a
on the
place for
landing,
right.
Cause I mean it was I mean
Yeah,
they're
and they should. That's good.
But you know, it's,
See, I've never sat in the bleachers. I've always been in the VIP rooms.
yeah. See, not just see here. I just
I'm
got
just
my hands
telling
on
you.
some tickets. You know.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think we can do this, Mom. You think? She was like, and we looked on the stadium map. She said, I'll be caught trying.
Yeah, we made it here. I guess
we made it, but then they were gracious enough. They actually upgraded the seats and put us out on the landing, so it was easier so we
Yeah.
could go up and down the elevator.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But they were really good, and I got to give the forum props on that. So.
Yeah. Oh, they should do that. Yeah. Protect the, assist the handicap. There's no question. There's
But
no
Mom,
question about that.
She sure got caught trying. She made it. You know.
And then you found out TV's better. They were even replay it. Where you don't have to break your neck looking at the jumbotron.
Well, see, she used to. She was liking it on. She would love watching them on TV. I said, well, you don't know what it's like to be in a real game.
Yeah.
And so
she
I got
enjoyed
some
that.
tickets, and it was right there by the landing. I would get tickets, and they would be on the land,
Yeah.
the little landing area. And so we went the first game, and she was hooked. But
And now you're stuck. You got to go see it live and in person.
Barbecue nachos, a large drink, and she's like in heaven. She is in heaven.
That's great. Oh, and she's not alone. There's a lot of people that way.
Exactly, and I would like to try to get her to the new Grizz, since everything's been shaken up and
I like to
got
just
going.
go see John Morant, man. He's making it worthwhile. They're losing games, but his playing has been awesome. I understand.
See, Mom always loved her some Zebo and Mike Conley. Those were her two guys.
Oh yeah.
You talk bad about Zebo or Mike Conley,
well,
might get.
There was no reason to. I don't know who she would converse with that would say anything negative because.
Yeah, they were everybody's guys, but hey, you
Yeah.
didn't mess. Those were two you didn't mess with.
Yep. Well, let's see. A couple of things around the sports landscape. We've got Matt Stafford is injured. His back is broken, but
oh no.
Yeah, not bad enough. But he's started a lot of games. I think he's the Iron Man. And starting at quarterback right now.
You're gonna be able to get out of the car to drop that.
I know. Yeah. And also, the Knicks president's angling for firing Fisdale. Excuse me. I was thinking the jazz player, but and played professional basketball. Yeah, I don't know. I mean. Yeah, he's not the answer. He certainly wasn't the answer here. And you don't sit Mark down just because you're mad at him or because he might have said something. Yeah, there's too many egos. He's just got a huge ego, I understand. So I don't know what's going to happen there. And Hayward, what's his name? Good player. He broke that ankle a couple of years ago, and he finally got better for the Boston Celtics. But his agent says that he's having surgery on his hand because he cracked a bone in it. So, I don't know. Things just continue to happen. The last big tennis match is going on with the 8 top players in the world. It's a round robin kind of thing, so you don't just lose and go home. You have to, then you get over in the losers bracket, and bada bing, you're
bada bing, bada boom.
You're still in it. You just have to come from behind to win it. That's how it works. But let's see, is there anything else other than?
I think the Tigers might be playing here in a day or so.
Find out about that, that's for sure. Okay.
Let me check for you real quick before we go off the air, see when them Tigers are playing again.
Yep. Well, anyway, folks, we've had a good day. It was good to have Rob Brown with me this afternoon to share the the mics and to talk about good old football and the history of same and the SEC. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't know as much about the other conferences.
And tomorrow, Memphis is playing the Oregon Ducks tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. It is tomorrow. That's right. I knew that. You're right. That's going to be the first tough one.
Yes.
And I hope this cloud of uncertainty.
13 versus 14.
I hope the cloud doesn't kind of hover over the men's basketball program. They go up there, they take care of business because they're great athletes. They ought to be able to know how to do this. All right.
Tennessee basketball is on their third appeal for Euros Pavlich, a kid out of Arizona State. They're waiting on the results of that.
Okay. All right, teammates, we appreciate you out there. Those that called in, those that listened, enjoyed the show. We'll be back. I'll be back Wednesday. I think tomorrow we got Bernard, right?
That's right,
Hart. That's right. He's a great guy. I love it. Oh, I know. I felt for him last night when Dallas couldn't score on that last possession. 4 downs to get in the end zone. Just couldn't do it. Listen, it's a lot tougher. You could be on the 5-yard line and you think it's easy because you're closer to the end zone, but it isn't. Everybody comes up and plays
that Tennessee-Kentucky game, man. They were down inside the 5 to the 10.
What was the final score?
17-13.
What a game.
If they would have scored, they went for it on 4th down.
Yeah.
Stuffed them inside the 5-yard line.
You got to like it, though. They're going for it.
Took the victory knee.
Thanks to our sponsors, each and every one of them. And that's it for us this afternoon. This is Sports Call, where you don't have to play a sport.
To be a sport.
Yeah.